Hey folks, so today I'm going to do a video concentrating actually on my personal stones collection, which is by no means the best in the world, clearly not. But you know, it's one of my favorite bands. I've collected them from the very beginning of when I started buying records as a kid, and you know, I just thought I'd go through it. Probably should introduce myself to those who haven't followed the channel before. My name is Jay. I have a small size vintage store in a small town in southern Ontario called Dunnville that I've had for 18 years now, and I've sold records. That's always been a big part of the store for the whole 18 years. So basically, how I got into the Stones was my parents grew up on the Mersey, just outside of Liverpool, in a small town called Widnes in Lancashire. And my mom was a great lover of what we call over here in North America the British invasion bands, but back then you guys would have probably called, you know, pop bands. So part of her record collection, I got a bunch of singles, and that sort of started me down the road, and I just loved the Stone sounds. It was, you know, poppy but still kind of dark. It was reverb drenched at some points. It had a very, very blues feel to it, and that just kind of got me hooked. And just frankly, as much as I love the Beatles too, they were just kind of cooler, you know. They were like, I guess they were called like the Dark Princes, but I digress. So I'm going to jump into it here. Again, this is in sort of order, but not entirely. I've got mostly Canadian presses, so for my British watchers, and there are some of you apparently, don't lose your minds when they look out of sync, because again, they're Canadian presses, there's American presses, there's some German, some Dutch, things like that all in here. So we'll get into it. All right, so these actually are part of my prize, some of my prizes in the collection. These are actually tour programs. Stones came through in '65. I believe they played Maple Leaf Gardens, and then they came back in '66, and I have both of the programs for those. The tour programs, I'll take one out to have a quick flip through just so you get an idea. Nothing particularly special. They're just kind of cool, you know. They would have been like the album fold-outs that went in some of the albums in the '60s later. It's nothing particularly special. Some cool pictures, you know. It's just more of a souvenir than anything else. Oh, Brian. And, you know, kind of like a great addition to have is, man, there's Charlie. And, yeah, so that's from '65. And I won't go through the '66 one, but it's there. We'll move those guys out of the way and we'll get into the records now. All right, so in '64, 12 by 5 came out. In Canada, this is the mono on the maroon label. I will quickly show some of the labels. I have a '65, which is also on the maroon label, but there's a slight variation. I'm not going to go into all the different reasons why the dates are changed. Just know that I've gone through Discogs on a lot of these. There's another '65. So there is a UK '64. It's not a first press, but it is from '64. You can see the label there. It's upside down. Not a lot of help there. And this is where it kind of gets interesting, I'm sure, for some of the UK collectors. This is the cover. Oops, that's not it. This is the cover that came out here in, that's in the USA. Sorry, I've got a Canadian one I'll show you. And it had this little gem stuck down here. Free full color photo of the Rolling Stones inside. And this one, yeah, it came with the textured cover. And then that, I don't have the picture of. Oh, yeah, the US one, I didn't get the picture with it. But there's the London maroon label. And so you can see that there. This one, let's see. There you go. You got the picture right there. Okay. So this is the one that showed up in Canada. This is the mono with the maroon label with the free color picture inside. And I actually do have the picture on this one. Yes, I do. Now this one, that's it there. It's, if you look, it's hard to see, it is textured, and that is kind of an important thing for collectors in North America. Well, in Canada anyways. I don't know what it was like in the States. But they reissued this later with the actual picture in it again, and that picture is smooth, but the original 60s ones had this textured picture. Sometimes they get mixed up. So yeah, and this is also attached to part of one of the tour programs that somebody glued onto the back. I wasn't going to take it apart. That's not my thing. So here is a version that came out in the same year, in 64, that has no free picture on it, because obviously it probably was expensive and they didn't want to keep having to add it in. This is the 68 reissue that I was talking about, and if you look, oh yeah, that one's textured too. So it wasn't the 68 reissue, but that is the Canadian blue label one. This is the one, yeah. So that one doesn't have a picture in it either. It's the black label. I'll show you on the next one, because the next one's, that's the 64 maroon. This one has the, there's the picture, and this is a really nice picture. It's totally clean. Again, you can see the texture on it. So this is the one I think is the 1970s reissue that they did, with the free full color picture on it. And there is the picture there. And if you look, it's just a glossy picture. It's not textured. If you run your finger over it, it is completely smooth. So you do have to be careful to make sure, because it does make a difference in value if that's something that you're into. Because the pictures, even though I've got a bunch of them, are really hard to find. And the I've come across many originals, 60s pressings that have the 70s reissue picture in it. Again, I don't think anybody's trying to fool anybody. It's just people don't know, and they found the picture after the fact and are just like, you know what, I'm going to stitch them together, and they don't know. So this would have come out in 64, the original pressing. This is a 70s German reissue. It's the stones around and around. It's on like a laminate cover on there. There's the label on Deca. So this is where things get, again, I think, for between the UK and Canada and North America, differences. So there's Out of Our Heads. That is a 1970s reissue with the Stones, Out of Our Heads, that appeared in the UK. And there is the blue Deca label on there. And then here's December's Children, which in North America, they use the Out of Our Heads picture. This is the 65. It is the Canadian mono, and it has a textured cover. There's the maroon label. You can see that there. This is a 66 Canadian mono reissue on the blue label, and this one has gone to a glossy cover now. And you can see there's the blue label. So this is the UK number 2. Even though it doesn't have an actual title on it that I can see, but it's just referred to as number 2. This is the mono, and it has the non-censored back cover, and we'll show you what that is. Basically, where is it here? See if I can see it. If you don't have the bread, see that blind man, knock him on the head, steal his wallet, and lo and behold, you have the loot. If you put in the boot, good, another one sold. So apparently that was considered a bit offhand, you know, beating up a handicapped person and stealing their money. So it was reissued later with a paste over cover first, and then apparently as a regular one in the UK, where they removed that. So yeah, this is the original one. And yeah. And then this is Rolling Stones Now, which came out in Canada in 65. It's a mono copy there. Collecting, I did try to get mono and stereo copies of each, but over the years I kind of lost interest in doing that. I'll probably at some point just decide which ones I want to keep. I like mono pressings myself. I think they sound really good. I'm sure people will argue between stereo and mono all day long, but yeah, so 65. So this is Out of Our Heads. This is what Out of Our Heads look like in North America. This is the maroon label mono in 65. You can see that there. And then there is the another maroon label 65. Slight difference on the two, if you see there and there. I know I said I wasn't going to go into it, but there's lots of little tiny differences. This is actually kind of hard to find. It's the Andrew Oldham Orchestra, and it was produced in 1965, and it's instrumental versions of the Stones' biggest hits, and it's really difficult to find. This is the only copy I've ever come across in the wild. This is the mono Canadian pressing of it. There's the label there. That one's still in the shrink. There is a 68 reissue of Out of Our Heads, Canadian blue. Oops, that's professional work. Blue mono. And here's a bunch of Aftermath. So this is what Aftermath looked like in North America. It came out with the including painted black. I am not going to go into the differences of track listings because they're huge between UK, US, and Canadian. I'll let you guys do that on Discogs. But yeah, this is the Canadian mono on the maroon label. And then here's another one from 66. Yeah, that might be just a double. Yeah, it says it's on the maroon. There is the 67 blue Canadian stereo reissue, blue label. And there is a 68 Canadian stereo reissue, blue label, slightly different variations on there. There's a UK 1970 reissue of Aftermath, and that's on the blue label there. And there's a 66 UK Aftermath. Probably not a first pressing because there are like 30 different versions of it, but it's got the red deck on there. A German pressing, Bravo, the Rolling Stones. I just think it's kind of cool when you find interesting things like that. It came out in 66. It's on the laminate cover. Rolling Stones Got Live If You Want It, 66 Canadian mono on the maroon. There is another one. That's 66. That is the blue stereo pressing. There is another Canadian maroon. Had a slight difference. You'll see that between the two of those if you go look them up on Discogs. The Rolling Stones says German pressing of Got Live, and it is from 67. Big Hits. High Tide and Green Grass. It is a compilation from 66. Pretty cool little gatefold. It has a little booklet in there that's included with it. That's the maroon label. Now here we go. I have a bunch of this is Between the Buttons, and that's a 67 Canadian mono. Somebody wrote on the label, unfortunately, but I'm not that big of a deal for me. It's the maroon. Here is a 67. I wonder what color that one is. I'm just going to pull that out. It's hard to do this stuff with one hand. That is a maroon one, but it is slightly red. I don't even know why I bother getting it, but it is a slightly different one. Here's a Canadian blue label stereo, but I am not showing the labels because I didn't pull it out like a dumbass. Here's another 67 Canadian. Oh, there you go, blue label. So that's what it looks like there. The Rolling Stones Flowers, which is another comp. There is a blue label Canadian stereo, and there is the mono, maroon mono, which is pretty cool. The 67, His Satanic Majesties, and this is the lenticular cover. It does kind of give it that cool kind of 3D effect. It's stuck on the ups. There we go. We just lost those. We'll put those back up again. So yeah, that's the paste on lenticular. Has the original inner on the back there. I won't bother showing the pulling the record. Oh, maybe I can. Let's see. I can do this. Oh, that's the blue stereo. I don't have one of the non-paste overs, which with the like the non-lenticular, which is kind of weird. Figured I would. So 68 Beggars. Like, yeah, here's the thing about the Stones I love. This period right here, because they knock out like 3 of the best rock and roll records over the next couple of years. And this was sort of the first one, Beggar's Banquet. God, I love this record. This is 68 Canadian. It's stereo on the maroon label. There was a 68 that was issued a little bit later after that. That is on the blue label. And I'm going to try to see... yeah, that's Canadian. Yeah, on the blue. And then here we have a USA, which is also on the blue label from London as well. Oh, I've got that first. So here's a German reissue of Let It Bleed, which came out in 1970. Kind of cool label, Nova. I mean, I like that label actually quite a bit. But here's the 69 Canadian on black, and it's the stereo, so you can see it there. Here's another one I think I just kept because it had a hype sticker somewhere, which I can't see where. Hang on. Oh, there it is. Yeah. Okay. So for some reason, they put the hype sticker on the back. It says Rolling Stones full color poster included. I have never been able to get a copy of the damn poster. It bugs me. Oops. And I have been trying for years to try and get a copy of it, and I just haven't been able to. Not one that's, you know, not crazily overpriced. So compilation, this is Big Hits Volume 2, Through the Past Darkly, and there were several different versions of this. Here's the die cut cover with the black label, Canadian. Here's the die cut cover with the blue label, Canadian. And then there is a US stereo blue label as well, but you can't see that because I didn't pull it out. 1970s, get your yayas out. Black Canadian stereo. It came out in blue as well. Okay, so that is basically the 60s right up until the 1970s. And as I said, they knocked out Let It Bleed, Beggar's Banquet, Let It Bleed, and then what is one of my favorite Stones records of all time, Sticky Fingers. Now I'll show you this first is the the Rolling Stones Brown Sugar. It is like the single, but done on this like plastic picture disc type thing. So that, you know, I don't usually go for all the little fancy pantsy stuff like this where, you know, they did picture discs and stuff like that. But I kind of dug this one. I love the cover because I'm kind of a Warhol fan, so it's a Warhol cover. So this one, I don't know why I kept it. Probably some sort of sentimental reason, so we'll move on from that. But this one here has the star zipper. Now, if you look, it's really hard to see. I don't know if you can see it. It actually says star on there. And I believe there was a big S and a small S. And so those came out, that one's from 71. The problem with this record is, as you can see here, you kind of do have to store it separately or put cardboard in between it and your other records, or that will eventually put a dent into your other records in your collection that's leaning up against. So this is a 77 reissue. Looks almost identical. The label looks almost identical too. That's what it is there. And you can see that's what it is there. Slight differences, but this one does not have star written on there, and it's just referred to as the vertical because that has the vertical little stripe going up the middle of it. Yeah, so, you know, continuing on, you know, Exile, which, again, could probably in my top 3 records by the Stones that I love, maybe top 4. They banged off 4 of these guys, just like that. Like, think about how many bands can you think who can do that? Like, I can think, you know, like Stevie Wonder, Sly and the Family Stone, knocked off 3. I think if you can put out 3 of the best records, like a trifecta in a row, you are one of the best bands in the world. And you know, obviously the Stones are up there. This one came with 12 postcards. I only have 7 of the damn things. It's a double. It's such a good record. Like, can't go on. Technically not a Stones record on their label, but Keith wasn't around, and in 72, if you know any of the history of Keith, it's probably not surprising. He was going through some stuff. But this one has Nicky Hopkins and Ry Cooder with Mick, Bill, and Charlie. Goat's Head. So there are 2 versions of Goat's Head. This is the original one, came out in 73, just the Rolling Stones on there. You got, oh man, I didn't put the picture in there, but that's your inner sleeve right there. There is supposed to be a picture of the goat, which I don't have on that one for some reason. I'll have to dig it out. But then it was later reissued in the 70s, probably a year later, with all the song titles on it. And Let's see, did I make it accessible to get to? The course I didn't, because I'm just not that one. Yeah, but if you guys know, you've seen the goat's head insert. It's like a little mini poster with a picture of a goat's head in soup. So yeah, you know, as we do with these things. It's only rock and roll, but I like it. 74, that is the Canadian on the Stones label. So here we go. Some Girls. So Some Girls was issued, and without permission, they used pictures of celebrities. And pretty much the estates of the celebrities who were passed away and the ones who were living asked to be removed. So they came out with a couple of different covers. Let's see if I can go through them. So this is the celebrity cover. 78 came out. They also did it with different colored stripes. Sometimes the stripes are in different order. This is a green, yellow, blue, and pink. Sometimes they refer to that as red. I have no idea why. It's clearly pink. And this is the celebrity die cut cover. Okay, so then later, and this is in 78, the same year, they had to put up things, and then under here it says construction under cover, or sorry, cover under construction, and that's still the die cut. And then for some reason they changed it all to sort of like a white, although there's like hints of pink and hints of yellow on there, die cut cover. And that also came out in 78. You could tell they were really struggling. And then I don't have one, but there is just one where it's no longer die cut and doesn't have the celebrities on it. I don't know why I have that score there. Oh yeah, it's showing you the inner sleeve. It's only rock and roll. Disco single, because this is where things start falling off in a little bit, in my opinion, because they're chasing relevancy at this point. And so yeah, they put out a disco single. Why not? I love this cover. I don't know why. The motorcycles and rock and roll. It's a UK called Rock and Roll the Rolling Stones, 1972, from Decca. There's the Decca blue label. I love that cover. It's one of my favorite covers in rock and roll. Metamorphosis, which was another compilation in 75. That's the US Abco. And then that is Stone Age, which was another compilation. This one, and if anybody out there could help me, so this is a reissue of it. The original came out, I think, a couple of years before this, but this one was probably issued into the 70s, and it has this London Sunrise record label. I don't know what year they started using that. So if you guys do know that, if you could put that in the comments, that would be great and very helpful for me, because I have a bunch of reissues with the, I didn't even include them in this lot, with the Sunrise label from London. I suspect that it is from the early 70s, but I'm not 100% on that. So Love You Live, another Warhol cover there, which is kind of nice. I don't know why I have two pressings of that. The nice thing about going through your records is sometimes you realize I've got 2 or 3 of the exact same record, so I'll probably be pushing those out in the store at some point. Here's another one. It's a reissue with the Sunrise label again. Actually, I think this might have been the first Stones record I bought for myself as a kid. Yeah, that one is just, there's another double, so just that'll go out. And here's where things for me really start falling off, into the 80s. I think the Stones were, again, chasing relevancy. They were still the biggest band in the world. They could sell out stadiums, and they had radio hits that I think were, you know, okay, but there wasn't anything new happening. There wasn't anything really interesting happening so much. But, you know, they're still the Stones. So Emotional Rescue, it's a K-Tel, and it's a UK K-Tel. Here in Canada, we are the home of K-Tel. Love us or hate us for it. But this was actually an early record that my grandfather brought over from the UK when he visited for me one time, because he knew I was a fan. Abco, Greatest Hits. I've got 2 of them. I think I got... oh yeah, so there's a really weird variant on this. There is the one where the Greatest Hits is above the spindle hole. And then there's one here, I'll show you, where it is below the spindle hole. Look at that. Probably not going to keep both. UK pressing of Time Waits for No One. Again, this was one my granddad brought over for me, my nana and granddad, when they came over back in the day. That's from 79. This is Big Hits 72 Face Cookies, the blue Canadian label. Why do I have blue tongue pressing? I have no idea why I have two of them, but apparently there's some sort of variant on there. Sucking in the 70s. I don't have the giant sticker, which I kind of want. That's one thing I'm still going to try and hunt down. Tattoo You. For me, this was the last really good whole Stones album. I mean, they had hits and stuff after this, but this was kind of the end of it, for me. Anyways, I'm sure people will yell and get angry about it, but this is kind of cool. It's the undercover that actually has the stickers still stuck to it. Most of them are usually peeled because, you know, boys, they just want to know. Unfortunately, when you do peel them, there's still no nudie bits. It's just other stickers aren't there. And then the Rolling Stones Rewind, which is 84. This is Hot Rocks that was remastered in 86, digitally remastered, because that's what everybody wanted back then. This was, you know, the start of sort of the digital encroachment, and on 100% virgin vinyl. It was Abco that did that. Oops, got some records slipping here. Dirty Work with the original red cellophane on there and the hype sticker, and then Steel Wheels. The last time I saw the Stones was for the Steel Wheels tour, and it was still a pretty good show. They could put on a great show. They could fill a stadium. I mean, they still do. And I haven't taken the time to listen to the new record, which is kind of weird, but you know, life gets in the way. So that's it. That's my Stones collection. I figured some of y'all would probably want to see it, because I put up that Beatles collection that I bought, and people went a bit nuts. I might go through my personal Beatles collection. If, you know, people show interest in this, I might go and dig out my Beatles collection and put that up there. If you'd like to see that, just put it in the comments, and if I get enough comments asking, I'll do it. So yeah, that's it. That's my Stones collection. Not the best in the world, but you know, I'm pretty happy with it. Anyways, hope you all are able to find some good records, and yeah, talk to you next time. Bye.